Check this out. Press release from Discovery Channel about Great Gold versus Great White. An event so monumental, no one has ever attempted it before. I think there's a reason for that. Michael Phelps versus a great white shark. Who you got? I don't know. Are they really doing this?
I have Discovery Channel.
If Phelps wins, he gets to eat the shark.
Around the Horn, the show
and if
of
the shark
competitive
wins,
banter.
well, we had a good run.
Here's Tony Reali.
We'll get to that in a bit. Lonzo Ball, Laker workout number 2 today. This, while you're reporting, Ms. Ramona Shelburne, that Ball and his camp are now open to working out other teams. This, while Chad Ford reported the Lakers held internal discussions about maybe trading away the number 2 pick 2 spots to number 4 if the Phoenix Suns were to offer a first-round pick next year. Ramona, of course, we're going to start with you. You're embedded in the Ball camp. You're practically the fifth Ball here. How are we to read this?
Look, LeVar Ball has been saying the entire time that Lonzo is going to be a Laker. He's speaking it into existence, and this is now the first time that we've acknowledged some other alternate reality where he doesn't end up with the Lakers. And I think he's having a second meeting with them today. Further down in that story, I said he's hoping the Lakers will give him some assurances that he has separated himself from the other guys they are considering. In other words, he wants to know, hey, am I your guy? If I'm not your guy, I got to talk to some other guys below where you are in the draft. Now, he still maintains he's not talking to the Celtics at number 1, which I find interesting. But this is just him hedging his bets and doing the smart thing, which, this is the first time we've actually seen a little vulnerability in the projections coming from the Ball.
Can you talk to us about how that first workout went? Because we've got nothing but rave reviews about Josh Jackson, and there's been De'Aaron Fox has gotten 2 workouts as well. But there was some, it was conflicted, his first workout, Lonzo Ball's.
Yeah, look, okay, all of these workouts right now are supposed to do no harm. So they do one on none, which means like it's you shooting the ball and maybe there's an assistant coach or 2 out there who's defending you. It was a 45-minute workout or so, and they put him through some drills. And from what I heard, he was fine. He didn't blow anybody away and blow him out of the water. But how can you in a one-on-none drill and a one-on-none situation? And so, the idea that he was out of shape, I don't think that's really fair in the sense that I think you get tired when it's just you out there doing that and nobody's really in game shape at this point.
Let's bring in the rest of the panel here. Pablo Torre on Lonzo Ball.
I think the idea that Lonzo is refusing to work for the Celtics is something of an obvious red herring. I recall the story of a guy named Steph Curry who wanted to be a Knick very badly and refused to work out for the Golden State Warriors.
Can you
and those
imagine
Warriors just happened to take him regardless of whether he wanted to work out for them. So this happens quite a bit. But in terms of the other rumors we're hearing, like Josh Jackson has a top 3 guarantee allegedly somewhere in there, and that the Lakers are bringing all these people in, what that tells me is that there are a couple of general managers who benefit from that kind of news. One of them is Danny Ainge, and one of them is Rob Pelinka. And the reason why it benefits them is because now they have to say to all the other teams, hey, you want one of these guys, you're going to have to trade up to get them. Okay. There's no guarantee that you can predict how the top of this draft is going to go, and that advantages the Lakers, of course.
So it sounds like you're saying a little bit of smoke and mirror here, as you might expect.
Absolutely.
Kate Fagan, how do you read this?
Yeah, I mean, anyone who's covered the NBA, which is actually everyone on this panel, knows that everything around the draft is mostly smoke, and you have to wade through it. Now, when it comes to Lonzo Ball, there's some discussion about whether or not he's shot himself in the foot, so to speak, about only working out for the Lakers. I don't buy that either, because as Ramona said, these court workouts, these individual workouts, aren't necessarily going to up somebody's draft stock substantially. And so you were talking about another team who might have not worked out Lonzo Ball, but might want to pick him. They would be shooting themselves in the foot by saying, well, all right, Lonzo Ball didn't work out for us, therefore we're going to hold our pride above taking a talented player. And that just doesn't happen in the NBA draft. All we hear time and time again is guys and teams drafting solely on what they think is talent.
Jackie McMullen.
So we know what's going on here. LeVar Ball and Lonzo Ball are once again trying to, and you don't like this word, but it's really true in this case, control the narrative. That's what's happening here, Tony. So if the Lakers, I'll allow it. Thank you. That's really, it's so nice of you.
Well, it's like Law and Order, right? I mean, there's always the judge. I'll allow it.
Exactly. And if the Lakers don't draft Lonzo Ball, they need a fallback, obviously, because that's not going to look very good. Why does Lonzo Ball not work out for the Celtics? I'll tell you why. Because they're not going to select him. Suppose you work out for the Celtics and then they say, yeah, okay, you worked out for us. Guess what? We don't like you and we're not going to draft you. That doesn't work in the whole narrative, now does it? Yeah. So this is all about that. The funniest part to me is he's going to say, oh, you know what? I better work out for other teams. Like, that's supposed to scare the Lakers? Are you kidding me? The Lakers choose who they want. They don't get to choose who the Lakers choose.
Isn't it ridiculous? This is the only time I can recall in NBA history that a guy doesn't want to be drafted number 1. He wants to be drafted number 2. And there was a second narrative in there, Jackie. Point deduction. Shelburne, back in.
Quite all right. Quite all
Look,
right.
here's the problem. Lonzo Ball actually makes a lot of sense for the Celtics because the way he plays would fit the way Isaiah Thomas plays better than what Markelle Fultz does. But nobody wants to talk about that yet.
Doesn't make sense. Let's talk about number 1. Since all we do is talk about number 2 here. Jackie, the Celtics have number 1. This is your account. Chad Ford, in his draft notes piece, quoted unnamed GM that Josh Jackson is an Ainge guy and that he's convinced the Celtics will bypass Fultz for Jackson. Are you hearing anything on that front?
Well, there's always internal discussions, especially as the draft gets closer, and we're just about a week away, less than a week away. So everybody starts looking at things again, one more time. But my experience tells me you always go back to what your gut told you. Markelle Fultz had a great workout with the Celtics. He wants to be drafted by the Celtics. They are convinced that he and Isaiah Thomas can function very well together in the backcourt. They've talked to one another already. I'll be surprised if the Boston Celtics choose anyone but him.
We've been horrible. We'll move on. Votes of confidence. You guys hear them? And you automatically think what? The exact opposite, right? You usually hear it from management to employees. That's Paul George giving the Pacers a vote of confidence. I intend to play. He also said the Pacers could compete with the Cavs. They were the team that gave them the most trouble this year in the conference. Pablo, how are the Pacers and how are Pacers fans going to hear those statements?
I think they should see this as the boilerplate kind of language that Paul George has to say. I mean, Paul George didn't volunteer very much in terms of actual insight, and maybe that's because the people he was talking to potentially cost him, and I'm talking about us media figures, cost him about $75 million by not voting him All-NBA, so maybe that's why, in fact, he wasn't more forthcoming with his insights. But this is just kind of the boilerplate that you get when you have a guy who everyone knows wants to be in Los Angeles but is under contract for one more year. It's the awkward dance. I wouldn't reach much into it other than the fact that Paul George isn't out here to make your lives much easier.
Dave Higgin.
I mean, the only thing we can read into it is the absence of any sort of emotional interpretation about the facts from Paul George, because it's not very passion-filled to utter the statement, quote-unquote, I'm under contract. He's basically sitting there and saying and repeating the factual circumstances of his situation. If I'm a Pacers fan, what I'm desperate to hear is Paul George's emotional interpretation of those facts. Like, I'm pleased that I'm still an Indiana Pacer. Anything along those lines is what Paul George did not give those Pacers fans, which to me, if I'm trying to read into it, makes me skeptical that he's going to be a Pacer past that year.
Jackie McMullen.
I don't know why we're even needing to hear this, because everything we heard before from Paul George was pretty clear. The dude wants to be somewhere else. He wants to be in L.A. So what do the Pacers say to him? All right, listen, just be quiet so we can do our job, okay? Every time you talk, your trade value lessens, and every time your trade value lessens, we're less inclined to trade you. So just be quiet and let us handle this in the proper manner.
Do you consider this being quiet? I mean, there's a statement from here there. I'm a Pacer.
Well, they went to a softball game and they asked him. He went to a softball game and asked him. This statement means absolutely nothing.
Shelburne, you agree?
I'm just surprised that you consider this a vote of confidence. I mean, do I need to say nicer things to you? Because, like, that wasn't a nice thing. Like, do I need to tell you?
Honestly, I can use it right now. I've had a great week, so please, give me some stuff.
like Paul George's statement was this equivalent of, like, Marshawn Lynch saying, like, I'm just here so I don't get fined. I mean, that was not a vote of confidence. That was just like, here's what I have been told to say now. I don't think anything has really changed. I think the Pacers are in a spot right now where they have to decide, do they want to roll the dice and see if he can make an all-NBA team and then throw that big money offer at him again? Or do they want to be Sam Presti and the Oklahoma City Thunder and lose him for nothing?
Okay. See, I think where we differ here, Ramona, is I hear vote of confidence, and I think just the opposite. I don't think vote of confidence. That was my point. I was saying it's not a vote of confidence. Every vote of confidence is not a vote of confidence. But I could sure use one right now if you guys were willing. We'll move on. Draymond versus LeBron. We'll call this the quickie and the dead. Draymond shirt.
Like that.
King James's response. Westbrook Harden were the ones liking it. Everybody in the NBA loving it. NBA is just surreal in their ability to keep storylines and bad blood pumping, right? Kate, point blank, who won yesterday, Draymond or LeBron?
I mean, Draymond won because he's the one on the float in the parade. And I think if I'm going broad perspective, this is great for the NBA just because it's some continuity to this growing rivalry, full-grown rivalry between the Cavaliers and the Warriors. Now, if I'm going on a specific perspective here, I don't think LeBron James's comeback is all that good. I mean, the last time I said that's what she said is some kind of joke, I got a lot of eye rolls from my friends. So I guess if it's LeBron James, we just pretend that it's a funny joke because we're just happy to see this beef play out on Instagram between them. But Draymond is the winner here.
Yeah, I think I'm with Kate here. As much as I love The Office, and I do, it really did jump the shark quite a while ago. I mean, the only thing that would have been better was if you started talking about Rabies Awareness Week or something else that was a little more deep cut into the show. You've never watched the show, Tony, so you don't know what I'm talking about.
I'm
That's
with
okay.
you.
I'm going to keep on talking. And so I'm with Kate. Who's got the championship trophy? Who's got it? It's Draymond. It isn't LeBron. How can LeBron win when he's not holding the trophy?
Shelburne?
Yeah, I kind of give it to LeBron for that day because Draymond is on the stage. Like, you don't need to say anything. Just hold the trophy up and take a bow. Like, I was okay with the shirt, but then he got up there and started talking about, oh, we're not a super team again. Stop. You're a super team. Just own it. Just be the super team. Like, I know that bothers you and all that, but, like, you won. Like, take it. Like, you don't need to say anything after you won. And so I think it made him look small. And I actually, for the first time maybe ever, agree with Dan Gilbert. He tweeted that out.
Wow.
Story after the horse.
The answer is LeBron. I did a story on LeBron and Maverick Carter for ESPN Magazine. Walked into Maverick Carter's hotel room mid-season.
That's very convenient.
And who was the first face I saw in Maverick Carter's hotel room mid-season was Draymond Green. Why? Draymond Green hosts a podcast on Uninterrupted, which is Maverick Carter and LeBron James' business. There may
so you think this is all calculated and orchestrated?
It's all to benefit one of LeBron James's pockets at the end of the day. That's the funny part about all of this.
Jackie, I think you have to prepare some fettuccine Alfredo or some gabagool for me if we want to do
But
some more.
when do we mute Pablo for talking about hanging out with Maverick Carter?
You know what, though? I was ready to.
That
was a good piece of information that actually mattered in the piece. We're going to take a break here. The LeBron stuff has been hilarious to me, though, because it's the road tripping with RJ and Channing. And he's talking about posting up Shaq and Jesus Christ. You can't post up Jesus.
No.
He was a riser, baby.
Post up Jesus.
Yes, a little humor. Come on.
Oh, you did
Where
not
my
just
Catholics
say that.
I've done that all day.
Oh,
huh?
my goodness.
Buy or sell.
Matt Harvey out several weeks because of a stress injury to the scapula bone in his shoulder. Neil Walker out a month, maybe partially torn hamstring. Juan Lagares, broken thumb, no timetable. Noah Syndergaard not healing as hoped. Timetable pushed back to late August. This all happened to the Mets yesterday over a few hours to add on to all the injuries they had going in. Kate, this is your account. What are you buying? What are you selling from the New York Mets?
My knee-jerk reaction is to say that there's something wrong with the Mets' conditioning or the way their trainers are interacting with their players. But when you actually look at teams that have lost the most WAR, the best amount of talent over the last couple of years, the Mets aren't even in the top 3. So I think that's just a story that we're telling ourselves. And they're just in a bad patch here, but it's not catastrophic.
Losing the battle and losing the war. Let's go to Jackie McMullen here.
Yeah, you know what? The Mets have become the Los Angeles Clippers of Major League Baseball. Just super bad luck with injuries all the way down the line. But the one that caught my attention was Syndergaard. That's the guy you have to be the most concerned about. He was supposed to be ready in a certain amount of time, and now they're talking about August for him. He's your most valuable guy. The Harvey injury is unfortunate, but he's barely in your rotation anyway. It's Syndergaard.
Okay, be careful, like, having any knee-jerk reactions when talking about teams that have a lot of injuries. Like, you go running all the time. You need to be healthy. I mean, I think the issue with the Mets right now is, like, this is a team that had a bunch of flamethrowers. They were in the World Series just a couple of years ago, and that feels like a million years ago now. I think they actually need to take a page from what the other team in New York has done, which is give some of your kids a chance. Bring up Rosario and give him a chance.
Of
Throw him out there. You know, get young this year.
The
It's
Yankees,
pretty much a wasted year.
they're always going to the farm system. That's what these Yankees do. We know The first year that they've actually gone to young players.
Come on.
Recently they have, the last 2 years.
It's worked this year, sure. Tori, where are you on this?
The Mets have a history of going to the farm for arms. It is a Generation K specter that continues to haunt this franchise. But to me, the big issue is actually Neil Walker, the second baseman, who has a pretty good OPS plus, pretty good numbers across the board. And that hamstring tear for their starting second baseman, who's 31, is pretty good. They have no idea what that guy's going to be like. We kind of knew Matt Harvey was a mess. We kind of are pessimistic about pitching, but that guy was actually a bright spot, and now he's absolutely off the table.
Buy or sell to the Patriots problem. Steelers' Ryan Shazier was asked if Pittsburgh has won, because they've lost 4 straight to the Patriots, including the AFC Championship game, which wasn't even close. And his response to ESPN, if you look at it that way, the NFL has a Patriots problem. I'm talking about all the championships we've seen in the last 15 years. Jackie, this is your account. Do the Steelers have a Patriots problem? Or does the NFL have a Patriots problem?
You know, it really has become a Steelers-Patriots problem. This defensive coordinator, he's never beaten Tom Brady. That's kind of a problem for you. And, you know, they were an average team in terms of sacks last year. They signed a guy named TJ, not to be confused with J.J. Watt from Wisconsin, who had 11.5 sacks last year. It's pretty clear what they plan to do. They plan to rush that quarterback, Tom Brady, and try to put him right back on his back.
Now, that's from the Steelers' perspective. But from the league's perspective, I mean, we said super team 100 times in the last week of shows, but we've never really applied it to a team that's basically winning the division every year for the last decade and a half.
Right, and that's because they have Tom Brady at quarterback. It's supposed to be a league of parity, and the Patriots just thumb their nose at that every single season.
So it sounds like you're saying the NFL kind of has a Patriots problem. Shelburne, how about you?
Yeah, I think the NFL has a Patriots problem because you have now everybody trying to scheme to beat the Patriots instead of just doing what they do best. I mean, the Steelers last year, they were 9th in the league in sacks. It's like they don't necessarily they're not having trouble getting sacks against anybody else or defending anybody else. And I think the fact that they're now changing to be able to compete with the Patriots, that tells you that they've thrown everybody else off their game.
There is nothing more impressive than the Patriots dynastically dominating a sport that is built on single elimination playoffs and randomness. But if you were the Steelers and you're thinking, we're just going to blitz Tom Brady is one of the best quarterbacks against the blitz. He was 122.3 in passer rating against the blitz last year. I don't know if that's necessarily a single solution.
Vegas.
I mean, other teams' schemes have beaten the Patriots, not frequently, but they have, whereas the Steelers have given up 120 points in their last 3 games at Gillette, and they are changing their scheme to beat the Patriots. So this is a Steelers-Patriots problem.
Irish Cell 3, we're doing it. We're taking the bait. Michael Phelps versus a great white shark. Let's roll tape. As the Discovery release said, it's part of their Jaws-some programming for Shark Week. Is this really happening, guys? Is this race? Produced by Peacock Productions. Really on, Ramona, by herself?
Yeah, I'm going to watch. I mean, is it on during the summer? That sounds perfect.
Yes,
I guess
July,
he just ran out
Shark
of humans to beat. Like, he's too good, and he just needs to man versus beast it now because there's nobody else left for him to prove it as a human.
Corey?
We can look up how fast sharks are and how fast humans are. Michael Phelps tops out at around 6 miles an hour. A shark is 35 miles an hour. A mackerel is 6.8 miles an hour. Michael Phelps should be racing mackerel. That'd be far more.
Oh, yeah, okay. You find mackerel week, and then maybe we'll have that race. Okay, let's go, Fagan. Shark versus human.
I'm tuning in. I just need to know what the parameters are for this race because I get a little queasy if things get too dicey. So I'm going to need to know the logistics before I tune in.
Dicey for what? Dicey that the shark might eat Phelps or that Phelps might eat the shark? What are you worried
that
about?
Something could go wrong. Okay, anything. Well, Phelps isn't going to eat the shark, but something
please,
goes
then we'll
wrong.
get out of here.
So many questions. Are we doing this in a pool? Because the chlorine might bother the sharks' dead eyes. Are we doing this
that's
in
right.
the ocean?
Shark might be focused.
Are we having
using
chum
hand
in the
check
pool?
rules?
Are we having beautifully clad women in the pool? Are we having music? What are we doing here? I can't respond to this until I have more information.
Yeah, just yell it out, guys. In the end, is this going to live up to any hype, or is it going to be something that is just
mackerel week? Start mackerel week.
Yeah, Phelps is going to win.
You still get the lead, Pablo. Watch yourself here. All right. Ramona, Kate, have a wonderful weekend. Pablo, Jackie, straight up next. Check this out. This is what Cleveland starter Carlos Carrasco does on his off days in the dugout. It's his teammate, Jose Ramirez. Pablo,
so good.
Would you buy art like this?
I want him to have an Etsy store. I want him to merchandise this. I want this to be a thing that all baseball bullpens, all baseball players are challenged to do during otherwise very boring games in a long season. I'm all about Carlos Carrasco's oeuvre at this point, yes.
I'm loving it too, but here's exactly why LeBron James shouldn't have shaved his head. I want LeBron James instead to join Hair Club for Men and then have Carlos make the perfect baseball of LeBron's new look. Come on, it would be a bestseller. Let's do it.
You know why? The chain was everything about this. When we do this for all of us, we got to get Jackie's chain right. Look at Jackie's chain. Best in the game.
Yeah,
we're giving the point to Tori, though. Showdown 2, Aaron Judge batting practice. We've seen him break TVs before. We've seen him break the upper deck, it seems like. And he also nearly broke a fan this week. Jackie, what's the better watch right now? Aaron Judge BP or Steph Curry pregame?
I'm sorry. Aaron Judge, I love watching him, but you give me Steph Curry every day of the week and twice on Sunday if humanly possible. He hits threes during his pregame from all over the place, not just the court. If you've been fortunate enough to see it, behind seats, behind the basket. He'll even do a little trick for you if you have something in mind.
Jackie, I've shown up early to watch Steph Curry shoot threes, but Aaron Judge is channeling the spirit of every angry Yankee fan who goes to that new stadium and wants it to be destroyed. They didn't used to have TVs like that in the outfield. These used to be bleachers, and it was beautiful. I want the old stadium back, and thank you to Aaron Judge for demolishing it one TV at a time.
Who cares about angry Yankees fans except for you and Tony? Oh, this is rigged. I call it incorrect.
As someone who is in a state of hairstyling flux, I have a fade right now. I appreciate what Ben McAdoo's life may be like right now, because he used to have a haircut that reminded people of the dad on any given episode of America's Funniest Home Videos who got hit in the groin with a wiffle ball bat. Now he's a guy who is replicating more or less bootleg, fugazi Pat Riley, and that's just not nearly as fun. If Ben McAdoo were to go back to the old haircut, we could all make fun of him as we all deserve to, but now it's just kind of sad. I miss the old Ben McAdoo is what
We all do. Father's Day is Sunday. Who do we got? Jim Shelburne, Pablo Torre, Chris Fagan, George McMahon, George Solomon, Lenny Barr.